Micheal was just a young boy with bright eyes and a soft heart, the kind of child who always tried to obey the grown-ups around him. He lived in a busy house where his parents were often out on business, trying to build a better life for the family. During those hours, Micheal was usually left in the care of his aunt, Aunty Shella. Aunty Shella had a small room in the house. It was square-shaped, with plain walls, a single narrow window, and a deep red curtain that always stayed drawn. The room smelled faintly of perfume and powder. There was a soft bed in the corner, so smooth and quiet it felt like it could swallow a person whole. That was where everything happened. Every afternoon, just after lunch when the sun was sleepy and the house was quiet, Aunty Shella would appear in the hallway. She always wore clothes that made Micheal uncomfortable, even though he couldn't explain why. Her blouses hugged her chest tightly, and her mini skirts barely covered her thighs. She wore makeup that made her eyes look like they were always watching. She would look at Micheal and smile, holding out her hand. "Let's go play our room game," she would whisper, her fingers curling around his small wrist. Micheal never liked the room game. It made his chest tighten and his stomach twist into knots. He didn't know how to describe it, but the game made him feel wrong inside. Scared, powerless, and trapped. But Aunty Shella said it was their secret, their special time together. She said it with such confidence that Micheal thought maybe he was the one who didn't understand. He remembered one afternoon when he tried to ask her a question. Just a simple question, but one that had been living in his heart for a long time. "Aunty Shella, why do we always play the game in secret?" he asked in a shaky voice. "Why do we lock the door and close the window?" Aunty Shella didn't look angry. She only smiled wider, almost like she had been expecting that question. "Because it's our special game," she said sweetly, brushing his hair with her fingers. "You like it, I know you do. Don't tell anyone, okay? You're a good boy, right?" Micheal nodded slowly, not because he agreed, but because he was afraid. He was too scared to say no. She had a way of making him feel small, like a mouse trapped in a corner with no way out. Every time they entered that room, the door clicked shut behind them. Aunty Shella would lock the tiny window and draw the red curtain tight. The light would disappear, and the room would turn into something else, not a bedroom anymore, but a prison. A dark, secret place where smiles didn't mean safety and games weren't really games. The worst part was that no one knew. To the outside world, Aunty Shella was kind and gentle. She always greeted the neighbors with a wave. She helped cook dinner and laughed loudly at family jokes. She seemed loving, trustworthy. No one suspected a thing. But behind that red curtain, Micheal's childhood was slowly being stolen, one whispered lie, one locked door, one game at a time. His tiny voice had no power there. His feelings didn't matter. Each day, he left that room a little smaller inside. A little quieter. A little more afraid. He began to dread the sound of her heels clicking down the hallway. He hated the scent of her perfume. He started flinching when someone reached out to touch him. His heart, once full of trust, was now filled with confusion and fear. But still, he didn't speak. He wanted to. So badly. But how could he explain something so twisted, so shameful, when the very person doing it smiled and said, "It's our little secret"? How could he find the words to say what happened in that room, when it didn't feel like anyone would believe him? Sometimes, at night, Micheal would lie in bed and stare at the ceiling, wishing he had wings to fly away. Other times, he wished someone, anyone, would open that red curtain and see the truth. He hoped that maybe one day, someone would notice how quiet he had become, how tired his eyes looked, how much he avoided Aunty Shella's touch. Because even though he didn't fully understand what was happening, he knew one thing for sure: it wasn't right. And he didn't want to keep playing the room game anymore. The red curtain looked like a monster's tongue, waiting to devour him each day. And inside that quiet room, with its soft bed and locked window, Micheal wasn't just playing, he was surviving. And he was praying that someone, someday, would listen.